I don't know if I'm getting old or if it's something else, but action games don't excite me like they used to. I did also fall asleep during the Hulk Iron Man fight in Avengers 2, so it might just be the getting old thing. So let's talk about Shadow of Mordor, the world's most middling action game, if we're going to talk about any action games. Shadow of Mordor is a pastiche of Assassin's Creed, the Arkham franchise, Lord of the Rings, Far Cry, and a bunch of other kind of heavy-hitting adventure titles. The game deals in the iconography of the Lord of the Rings series well: orcs, the Eye of Sauron, elves, the One Ring. It takes a snippet from the appendix of the Lord of the Rings and really breathes some life into it. It makes it feel like it really is part of the world. And it's a fun sandbox to play in. But I think that's really all it is. A pretty complex, very good-looking sandbox. The co-host of my podcast, Art for Artists Ben Hill, argues that the best part of the game is the Nemesis system.
When you're playing it, it's this living, breathing, sort of like dynamic system where you never really know what's gonna come next. It's not like, oh, this guy's the final boss, even though there is a final boss. But it's like, here are your sort of enemies.
The system's premise is pretty straightforward. Each region has war chiefs who have lieutenants, underlings, and then your bottom of the barrel standard mercenary orcs. You can kill, scare, or ally with, or promote various orcs to achieve whatever it is your desired outcome might be. The exact mechanics of the system are, in a word, and at the time, revolutionary. No one had done anything close to the Nemesis system before, largely because it's really goddamn complicated looking, but deceptively simple.
Yeah, and it's all complete bullshit.
Mike Bithell wrote a blog post that explains how the Nemesis system is basically a series of clever tricks to help a number of simple overlapping systems give the impression of a living world.
So if you go and try to find how does the Nemesis system work, you'll get zero answers. You'll get people saying you'll get marketing bullshit where it's the orcs are out there living in this world and they're interacting with each other and they're gaining strengths and weak. No, they're not.
Bithell breaks down the process for an orc bullying you into sort of 8 parts. I'm not going to go through all of them, you can read his blog post, it's linked below, but I want to cover off some of his key points and why I think they're important. Crucially, and I think why Bithell's allegory of game designers as magicians is apt, any part of the system you don't care about, the game doesn't make interesting, you don't see it. It's like in a magic show when a magician diverts your attention. It's intentional because they want you to focus on the magic, not the how of it. Discovering orcs' identities feels strangely rewarding, and that's kind of the crux of the system. Even though the orc characters don't actually exist until you uncover the shadow, there's a tactile feeling of achievement in sweeping a region to learn about all the characters living there. It would be the equivalent of being able to sort of peep into your neighbors' homes. It's oddly satisfying. The illusion of realism is extended by having a large number of random side quests occur around you as you move through the world. This isn't the case in the game, obviously. The world doesn't actually exist outside of you playing it.
It's a bunch of random events that just say, when this happens, do this.
You're literally the center of the universe in the game, but it never feels like it because the backdrop is so compelling. If you spent any time playing Shadow of Mordor, you'll know how well the system can simulate a larger world of play. And while you know it is a game, the sleight of hand, the art assets, and the cohesive grouping of characters and events gives you a real sense of the world.
And I think the Nemesis system, the reason why a lot of people are like, oh, it's really good, is because it adds so much to that game in particular.
So the question is, why haven't we seen this repeated in other games?
I think the reason why it works in Shadow of Mordor is that if you take away the Nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor, it's not a good game.
From all the research I've done, the real reason we've seen the system isn't everywhere is that it takes a lot of time to put together.
I think a big reason behind it is that if you had if you took Assassin's Creed, right, and then you you put on that Nemesis system, the boardroom would be looking at the list of features and it would probably be the first one to get cut. The games don't really need that kind of AI based narrative stuff because it's, if stories sell games, boobs sell games, and if it has those, they're generally going to just be like, yeah, it's fine.
The Shadow of Mordor sequel is right around the corner, so we'll definitely see a far more complex iteration of the mechanics soon. But given the rocky development and communication among the team on creating the first game's Nemesis system, I do have my doubts that the new one can be scaled up in a believable way. That's largely because the strength of the mechanic is simulating a larger world that's occurring outside your window, Woody and Buzz go on adventures while you're at school. You don't actually want to follow them around all day. The new game totes large-scale conflicts, more intricate interactions, fortress capturing, more personalized characters, and rather than being a battle for Mordor, it appears to be for the entire half of Middle-earth.
He's just gonna get bogged down in menus, and I feel like it loses some of the and the personality and like the intimacy with it.
And so we'll just have to wait and see if Shadow of War can pull the same sleight of hand, and whether or not their second run is going to be as compelling as the first. Either way, it goes to show that even with AAA games and tropes and conventions and sales targets, big studios can still be creative and break new ground. The Antagonist is me, David McNeil. Our music is by the incredibly talented Daniel Lawson. We're produced by DCM Works. Ben Hill is a Sunday morning where it's cold outside and you stay in bed with a warm cup of coffee. For more of our stuff, just head to dcm.works, and to help support us, just leave a like, subscribe, do all the stuff you guys do. I appreciate your support, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.